Hello everyone, my name is Siddharth Abbas. As a person of color, minority group, and an immigrant to Canada, for my TED Talk, I would like to throw some light on the concept of racism and its harmful effects on our society through the lens of sociology.
You must be wondering, how does sociology help us? Sociology is the study of repetitive behaviors and relations human beings form among each other and the society, which is formed as a result of these interactions between humans and the social institutions which exist, such as bank or justice system and marriage. Racism is an ideology which is born as a result of interaction between majority group and minority group in our society, where people with visible facial features, skin color were grouped together. This helped the majority group to use their self-proclaimed superiority status based on the race over the other to justify the inferior treatment given to minorities, and this has been happening even before the countries like Canada and United States were formed. Throughout history, this was used as a means of interaction by white people originating in Europe, mostly towards the people in African, Asian, and South American continent based on their race. We study this using the different aspects of sociology such as conflict theory, symbolic interactionism, and structural functionalism. Effects of racism on our society are very bad and long lasting and are often passed on from one generation to the another. Effects include economic inequality, social discrimination, civil unrest, segregation of communities, and racism getting passed on from one generation to another, and it's still being present in our society even in 20th century. Economic equality can be explained best using the conflict theory or material theory, where means of production and people in power are the people who are a dominant group, who are the deciding factors for hiring process and for what role to assign to the hirees. After the entry of people of color, they're systematically assigned lower job roles or positions, irrespective of the qualification and skills most of the time. And this leads to long-lasting economic inequalities among the different communities where people just cannot seem to get promotion and grow in certain community whereas the other communities grow like insanely. Unemployment, as you can see in non-racialized group, has been studied in Canada at 7% roughly, whereas visible minorities are well above 9%. In those minorities, black and Arabs are being above 13%. Social discrimination on the basis of race, ethnicity can be studied best through the symbolic interactionism, where the hate generated through the sense of superiority is manifesting in the majority group towards the minority and is seen in day-to-day interactions, like where people of color experience hatred in form of name calling, or when they are interacting with people of white color, they have to wait for them. And one of the most recent incident where four cops pinned Mr. George Floyd and killed him is just the ugliest form of this hate. This graph here shows us how disproportionate killing is in US. As you can see, black people consist of 13% of US population, Hispanic consist of 17%, and 63% are white, clearly a majority. And the number of people who are killed by police, how disproportionate that is. Even in Canada, number of police reported hate crimes by type of motivation has been on the rise based upon race and ethnicity. Civil unrest is the best example of failure of structural functionalism, since different parts of our society have failed to do the role they were assigned to in order to maintain the balance in our society. This leads to unrest and distrust in our communities. People lose trust in social institutions and take it to themselves to make a change. Segregation of communities is a result of failure of structural functionalism, where people have been living in their own socio-cultural bubbles with no exposure to other communities, leading to concept of ghettos, where neighborhoods with lots of immigrants or of visible minorities are often labeled negative words. Here we see how less diverse police forces are in Canada as compared to the diversity in the population. You can see Halifax has most diverse police population as compared to the diversity in the population, whereas RCMP in Nunavut has no diversity as well. It's dark color here in the map. Racism is not just being prevalent in our society, but it is also constantly being passed on from one generation to another in the form of values, which is being taught to new kids. Being born, they are taught a way of life in school and the society when they go out to play with other kids, which causes prejudice in their mind towards other races. And this graph shows a survey which was conducted that even in 20th century, humans who were born in 2000 or after have prejudice towards other races in such high numbers. We need to change this. And thank you for listening.